I'm holding what's called a matchlock musket. Before the flintlocks were invented, this was the type of weapon that would have been used by European armies. Now this is called a matchlock because the ignition source was actually this, which is called a slow match, all right? When gunpowder is put into the pan, and then the rest of the gunpowder is poured down here and a ball would be rammed down. To fire this, you would bring the slow match to the gunpowder in the pan. That would ignite the powder inside the barrel and send the projectile forward. So this would have been the musket that would have been used before a flintlock. One of the primary weapons of the American Revolution was the British Brown Bess musket. It's a 75 caliber weapon, firing a 75 caliber round ball. It's also called a flintlock because that little piece of flint will ignite a spark, which will cause this thing to fire. This musket was very robust, it was very reliable, and the British Army used it for over 100 years. I'm wearing the uniform of a soldier of the 5th New York Regiment, which fought at the Battle of Fort Montgomery on October 6, 1777. I'm also carrying a 75 caliber Brown Bess musket, which was used by many troops, American and British, at the battle itself. I'm going to show you how to load and fire this weapon. This weapon you would start at the shoulder. Okay, then you would bring it down to half-cocked firelock. This is also called a firelock. You would handle your cartridge, take the cartridge out. In a real cartridge, the round ball will be on the base of it, the rest of it's gunpowder. Rip the tail using your teeth. Pour some gunpowder in the pan. This is called priming. Shut the pan, cast about, pour the gunpowder, and there would be a round ball that would be on the end of this, inside that cartridge. You would then draw your ramrod, ram your cartridge down, return your ramrod, come back to the shoulder. You would be then told to make ready, take your frizzen cover off, fully cock the weapon. You would be told to present and then fire. Now this weapon can be loaded and fired about 3 times a minute. It's very effective at short ranges, but only when you volley fire with another group of soldiers, shoulder to shoulder. Once you did fire, you would come back to the prime position. You can load and fire it again. Many times you would be brought back to the shoulder and then marched with the other soldiers, maybe to another part of the battlefield. So it's a very effective weapon at short range with massed troops. Also, it carries a bayonet. This is called a socket bayonet. It's triangular shaped. And when used, stabbing someone in the stomach and twisting it, it'll cause a wound that cannot be sewn up. So this weapon can be used for hand-to-hand combat, which was done at this battle itself. Each soldier would have a cartridge box filled with these cartridges. A cartridge would be a round ball, 75 caliber round ball for a brown Bess, on the base of this cartridge filled with gunpowder. This is the projectile that would be sent out of the barrel of a 75 caliber brown Bess musket. All right, today I'm going to shoot a 75 caliber brown Bess musket with a ball down. So this is a live fire. First thing we do is we're going to prime the pan. Take a little bit of gunpowder, pour it into the pan. I'm going to shut the pan. Now I'm going to save this priming powder for another shot. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to load about 90 grains worth of gunpowder down the barrel. Going to wad it. Going to take a 75 caliber bullet. Okay. Going to pour that down the barrel. Going to ram it down. Make sure it's seated in the breech. Okay, now this thing is ready to fire. Let's see what we can hit.
The only thing I'd be afraid of is staying in the
Let's take a look.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, that's like another person.
That's what you call a kill shot. So that's a 75 caliber round ball going through his chest. It's going to take a chunk out of him, and he's going to be out of the fight. Another musket used by the Continental Forces was a French Charleville musket. The French gave us a lot of these, a few thousand of these. Certainly towards the middle and the end of the war, a lot of Continental Forces were armed with this. It works the same exact way as a brown Bess. It's a flintlock musket. It has a flint. It's got a frizzen plate, and it's a smooth bore. It's slightly smaller caliber than a brown Bess. It's about a 69 caliber. It's smooth bore. It fires a round ball. Same accuracy, same range, about 50 yards. The American forces like this weapon. It could be easily broken down. These rings can be taken off and the barrel can be popped off. It can be cleaned pretty easily. It still carries a bayonet, just like the brown Bess. So it can be used in hand-to-hand combat, which it was. And it was a good, effective fighting weapon, and the American forces enjoyed it. Do that one more time. I'm carrying in my hand a Militia Man's Fowler. It's a little different than a regular musket, although it is smooth bore, it is still a flintlock. It is not a military weapon. It was meant really just for fowling and hunting. Again, it is smooth bore. It fires a round ball down this barrel. The accuracy is about the same, but these are more homemade weapons. These are weapons that are made by the colonists themselves. So these are not specifically military weapons, but they were used in the Revolutionary War by the American colonists. And as you can hear behind me, you might hear some gunshots. The militia was called up for emergencies, and it sounds like there's one going on right now. This is a rifleman. Rifleman is a very different soldier than a soldier that carries a musket. The rifle has rifling in the barrel, which allows the projectile to have greater range and accuracy. So this rifle can hit something at about 300 yards. Now, rifles don't carry bayonets. They're not used for hand-to-hand combat. They're mainly used for hunting by backwoods riflemen. Now, during the war and at the battles of Saratoga, the American forces used these rifles to a great extent. And especially on the second day when Timothy Murphy makes that shot against Simon Fraser, he hits him at a couple of 100 yards range and changes the whole course of the battle. So these weapons were used to great effectiveness by the American forces. Other weapons that would have been used in the American Revolution, not just muskets, not just rifles, but also hand-to-hand weapons such as a tomahawk, which I have with me, hand-forged, used for hand-to-hand combat in the North American continent, used by Native Americans and the colonists as well. Very effective in close quarter combat, can be used as a hammer against somebody's skull, and also as an axe. So this was used quite often by many of the forces that fought in the American Revolution. Another weapon that would have been carried by many people, soldiers and militiamen, would be a scalping knife. And this knife is razor sharp, designed not only for thrusting and killing, but also for taking scalps, which would have been done by grabbing the top part of somebody's hair, coming along the scalp line and ripping it off. And that would be used to count an enemy dead as proof that you killed them. Both sides did it. So the weapons that were used in the American Revolution were particularly brutal, especially these hand-to-hand weapons.